All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Conscious Leadership Book Club. This is a series of videos where we are going to basically do a book reading of conscious leadership. It's by Steve and Chutisa Bowman, who are some of the funniest, most hysterical business leaders I have ever met. They're actually Chutisa Bowman is probably one of the funniest women I have ever met in my life. And I just adore her. And I think that that sense of humor is a sign of great intelligence. And then it's major contributions by Gary Douglas. So basically Steve and Chutisa have taken the Access tools and created this amazing book on conscious leadership. So I actually haven't read the book, and I wanted to read it. I just got it in the mail, and I'm so excited to read it. And I thought, why not do this with a group? Because I think this is a book that we can all use, and I'm hoping that I could inspire you guys to reading it too. So if you... Maybe, Teresa, you could put a link to buy the book in the follow-up email to this class. And we can go from there. And yeah, if you have the book, awesome. If you don't have the book, order the book after the class, because it'll definitely help you with what we're going to do in this series. All right. So does anybody have any questions about the book before we begin? Nope. Okay, let's just get started then. So I'm going to start on the introduction. I'm going to read the introduction. There's no page number. This book is an invitation for those people who choose to be more conscious in their leadership, with an emphasis that no particular way is right or wrong. This book came about because we are dedicated to assisting people to raise their awareness and consciousness, which in turn has an expansive effect on all those who come into contact with a conscious leader. Cool. Conscious leaders are those who are charismatic, are able to make powerful and successful decisions that defy logic and analysis, are innovative in the ways they address issues, have a major impact on the expansiveness of their organization and the people affected by the organization, and are defined by the key characteristics that they have followers who choose to follow them. The vision of this book is to enable you to easily access brilliant tools of powerful and transformation for as many people are as ready to use them. It is our firm belief that the enhancement and expansion of consciousness is one of the most essential factors for everyday living as we move into the uncertainties of this millennium. We can enrich our lives in every aspect as we empower ourselves to be more conscious in our personal and professional lives. All right, Chapter 1, The Essence of Leadership. To become an extraordinary leader, an executive must become a conscious leader. By combining both executive management skills and conscious leadership abilities. All right. So leadership is a process of being rather than doing. This establishes the quality, attitude, and disposition which delineates extraordinary leaders. Being a leader is not the same as acting as one. It's not the same as acting as one, and calling yourself a leader is not the same as being one. What do people misidentify and misapply as leadership? Most executives these days are appointed into leadership positions by virtue of their technical skills, knowledge, and education. Seldom are people chosen to become leaders of an organization because of their sheer leadership qualities and abilities. In most organizations, leaders are in fact managers, working under a leadership title. Many people in management believe that they can become leaders in their organization or field of expertise because they know so much about the business, their extensive experience in the field, superior technical knowledge, and excellent process management skills. This is often not the case. In the study of leadership, most investigators and theorists believe that managerial and leadership skills are different. A leader needs to be concerned with the big picture and the vision of an organization. Managers, on the other hand, are concerned with day-to-day routine operations. The differences can be elaborated as leaders create and articulate vision and strategy. Management ensures it is put into practice through planning and budgeting. Leaders welcome change and opportunity, while management focuses on dealing with complexity. Leaders embrace accountability and transparency internally and externally, while managers focus on the doing and the achieving of budgets and plans. Leaders excel at public relations, being open in their communications, sharing of information, and articulation of the organizational vision, while management refers to these communications for guidance. Leaders recognize risk as opportunity, while management ensures risks are understood and controlled. Most leadership gurus talk about leadership styles, tools, and techniques for leading people. This is the most subtle misidentification and misapplication of the notion of leadership. All right, stay with me, folks. This is an intense read. Okay, but what they're saying here is quite brilliant. I'll repeat that sentence again. Most leadership gurus talk about leadership styles, tools, and techniques for leading people. This is the most subtle misidentification and misapplication of the notion of leadership. Many of these conventional leadership models require leaders to sustain a controlled structure in which staff follow specified directives and perform them efficiently and in the approved manner. The tools and techniques that these leadership gurus often recommend are effectively the instruments that can be used to control and have power over people. These tools and techniques simply provide great psychological methods to enable the exertion of control. In this way, leadership is perceived to be power-based. Okay, that's cool. So basically, leadership is not power-based. Leadership is not power over another. Leadership is not, I'm your boss. In addition, most standard leadership training programs follow exclusively on skills and again develop managers rather than leaders. Traditional leadership models seek to preserve the status quo and make good soldiers of the team. These models are based in authority, hierarchy, exclusivity, and separation between management and staff. It is important to recognize that it is just not possible to truly manage and control other people. Most of the time, we can't even manage ourselves. It's important to recognize that it is not feasible to manage people because people are unpredictable, uncontainable, uncontrollable, paradoxical, and unruly. They can be forced to obey, but cannot be managed in the traditional sense. To become a conscious leader, it is essential to acknowledge what leadership is truly all about. It is about empowerment rather than force. To become an extraordinary leader, an executive must become a conscious leader by combining both executive management skills and conscious leadership abilities. Executive management skills are necessary to win credibility with the staff as a leader and with the board of governance as an executive. In this framework, executive management is not about managing the people to get things done in the business, but it's more to do with taking vision and strategy to the staff. It's about managing what things get done through which people. That's awesome. Okay, so intense language, intense wording, intense stuff, but it's amazing the way that they're articulating what's actually going on here, because it's basically saying it's about it's not about managing the people to get things done. It's about managing what things get done through which people. That's freaking huge. Okay? So, not managing people, seeing what things get done through which people. Key points. Leadership is a process of being rather than doing. So we have a little, for those of you who don't have the book in front of you, key points. Leadership is a process of being rather than doing. Conscious leadership is about empowerment rather than force. Being a leader is not the same as acting as one, and calling yourself a leader is not the same as being one. To become an extraordinary leader, an executive must become a conscious leader by combining both executive management skills and conscious leadership abilities. Chapter 2, the spirit of conscious leadership. I feel like a kindergarten teacher showing you guys the pictures. A conscious leader is the source of an organization's success, joy, glory, and prosperity. That's amazing. I'm going to repeat that. A conscious leader is the source of an organization's success, joy, glory, and prosperity. Many theories of leadership have discussed leadership in terms of nature. You are born with leadership qualities or not, or nurture. Leadership is a teachable skill. In accordance with the understanding that everything in our universe is energy, and that we all have access to this oneness of energy, we posit that everyone has the ability to be an extraordinary leader. It is all about the choices that people make. The key to becoming an extraordinary leader is consciousness. The talents and abilities that we already have but have not claimed, owned, and acknowledged and embraced. Consciousness is our intrinsic faculty and inner resource. However, for most people, it has been concealed and undeveloped. So all of those of you who are suffering from undeveloped consciousness, will you destroy and uncreate it all, times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. All right. The truth is, we are all equal. We are infinite beings. We have consciousness, we are consciousness, and we have a choice to be consciousness. It is important to be aware of and acknowledge that everyone has infinite potential to be a conscious leader, because we are all infinite beings. Consciousness resides inside each of us as an infinite reservoir of intuitive knowing, wisdom, and acumen. If claimed, owned, and embraced wholeheartedly, sincerely, and ardently, consciousness allows leaders to reveal in their own greatness and extraordinariness without superiority or hierarchy. When leaders choose consciousness, those around them share the rewards. This is the phenomenon of entrainment described in Chapter 3. A conscious leader is the source of an organization's success, joy, glory, and prosperity. People who use leadership or who are given the opportunity to be a leader have three choices that they can make. They can choose to be a conscious leader, an unconscious leader, or an anti-conscious leader. To become extraordinary leaders, all they have to do is choose consciousness. Consciousness is a choice, just as unconscious and anti-conscious are choices. People begin to become conscious leaders at the moment when they choose for themselves to be conscious. Conscious leadership is about right here, right now. It's the moment you choose to be all that is possible. Being conscious. Consciousness is correlated to the intensity of one's connection with oneself, with one's acceptance of unlimited talents and abilities. So how many of you have not accepted or received your unlimited talents and abilities? And everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pot and pock, shorts, boys and beyonds. I see people are asking questions, but I'm not going to answer any questions today. Oh, it's all Sneha. Sneha. I'm not sure how you say your name, but
She said she was just going to and write questions.
There's
Can you hear me?
So these are sort of bigger questions you're asking, Sneha, about like bigger facilitation things. But I think that it would probably just create more if we just kept reading. And that's something that can be discussed maybe in a few classes once we have more of this information under our belt.
Can you
okay. Teresa?
Oh, you can't hear me. At the beginning, she said she was just going to write notes and write questions out and take notes for later. So just
okay. I was like, that's a lot of questions and big questions. I'm like, that's not going to happen today, sister. But okay, it's just notes. Got it.
And someone else asked if they could have the chat. So I'm imagining that they like these questions. So is it cool that we send the chat?
Not a problem. Go for it.
Cool.
Yes, I think my light bulb just burnt out. It's not as bright in here. Okay, and that's totally fine. And Darren says, how do they define a manager and a leader? Basically, a manager is somebody who tries to get people to do stuff, which is not possible. And a leader is somebody who, what were the exact words? It was brilliant. A leader is about managing what things get done through which people. So that's the difference. Trying to make people do things or managing what things get done through which people. So it was brilliant. Okay, cool. All right, keep up with your notes now. I was like, that's a lot of questions, sister. Okay, cool. Now, where was I? Okay, being conscious. Consciousness, wait, hold on. I totally lost my spot, guys. 1 second. The key to becoming an extraordinary leader is consciousness. The talents of... Okay, yeah. Being conscious. Consciousness is correlated to the intensity of one's connection with oneself, with one's acceptance of unlimited talents and abilities, and the resulting expansions of one's ability to be in communion with all things. Beautiful. Being conscious is an experience of expanding our awareness beyond its present limits. It's a state of flexible awareness with no fixed points of view. The basic function of each being is expanding and contracting. Expanded beings are lightness, infiniteness, and indefinable. Contracted beings are solid mass, density, and limitation. A completely expanded being is what we call a conscious being. When we are completely expanded, we have a feeling of total awareness, of being one with life, that place where we have a stillness, a sense of total peace and tranquility, in which we have no capacity to judge. Living in that reality means that we allow all of life to come to us with ease and joy and glory, which is the mantra of Access Consciousness. Being conscious is the very process of expansion. It has nothing to do with New Age concepts, the latest fads, or any should or shouldn't beliefs. Conscious leaders. Conscious leaders are creative innovators who can function from total perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. They have the ability to transcend their limited circumstances and to actualize infinite possibilities. They create their reality by choosing to let go of limitations and demand of themselves the greatness of who they are. They are not attached to convention or past reference points and are always willing to risk and destroy and uncreate old systems, structures, and routines for new ones. They live not as the effect of life, but as the source of it. Conscious leaders stand out from the crowd. Conscious leaders have a strong penchant for innovation. They believe in infinite possibilities. They seek and maximize opportunity and are able to perceive and work with risk. They live in simultaneity, time, space, and reality all at the same time. They tend to look at the bigger picture of things and see the big picture of things all the time. Conscious leaders operate on inner knowing, intuition for making expansive decisions. They are influential, inspirational, and provide visions that transform the way people think about what's possible, feasible, and attainable. Awesome. Awesome. Conscious leaders are comfortable with change. They understand that the status quo is an oxymoron, that there is simply no such thing. Every minute, every day, there is change. Things are in constant motion. While others may not be aware of this, conscious leaders live it. In knowing that change is inevitable, the conscious leader seeks change for a purpose, for the better. They have the ability to change their point of view constantly without judgment. The culture of an organization has a conscious leader is characterized by a focus on integrity, trust, creativity, intuition, innovation, freedom, flexibility, and generosity. And that's the G-Man, Mr. Gary Douglas. He is the leader of an organization, think about these things, that is characterized by integrity, trust, creativity, intuition, innovation. Innovation does not even scratch the surface of whatever Access is coming up with every day. Freedom, flexibility, and generosity. The culture is one which searches to create conditions for cohesion, community spirit, and mutual accountability, and that recognizes the importance of strategic alliances with suppliers and customers, corporate well-being. There is a shift from control to trust. Excuse me. There is a shift from control to trust, fear to truth, privilege to equality, and fragmentation to unity. And that's one of the most brilliant things that I've had working with Access is like I never have to worry about whether I can try new things or do new things and do them on my terms. And so that's what a conscious leader allows for the people around them. Unconscious leaders. Wah, wah, wah. Unconscious leaders are typically appointed to their position as CEO, manager, or supervisor. Due to their position of authority, they become the boss and have the power that allows them to be in command of and direct their staff. Staff would not necessarily voluntarily follow the boss in the normal course of events, but are expected to carry out directions and obey the dictums of the boss. I like that word, dictums. It's because the boss is a dick, so he's carrying out dictums. Unconscious leaders often get appointed in their position because of their expertise in their field, many of whom have worked their way up the hierarchy. They often possess good technical information and knowledge of the system that can make best use of resources and maximize organizational productivity. The unconscious leader will make many decisions. Excuse me. Oh. It's clearing some unconsciousness from all of us, that's for sure. They often possess good technical information and knowledge of the system that can make best use of resources and maximize organizational productivity. The unconscious leader will make many decisions and generally is quite busy being busy, but is unaware of what has influenced those decisions, actions, or feelings. They are skilled at providing constancy, following rules, maintaining the status quo, and cultivating order in the organization. Unconscious leaders tend to focus on the process and immediate efficiency. They are generally inclined to blame most problems on external forces and feel that luck, outside events, other people, or fate often have an influence on their current situation, and what they now have is possibly as good as it gets. The more unconscious they are, the more risk-averse they become. Their common phrases include the words but, just, need, try, want, and never. And those are the words you learn in the Access Foundation manual, in the Access Foundation class, you learn those words as words you want to eliminate from your vocabulary. These unconscious leaders are seeking more in life, home, and work, but are unsure what or how to affect change. Things happen around them, often leaving them bemused and worried. The culture created by an unconscious leader is characterized by hierarchical power structures, a focus on quality and process, very busy being busy, with general unawareness of what is influencing decisions, actions, and feelings related to the results, a general lack of creativity, and unwillingness to create and destroy form and structure. Awesome. Now, so we talked about conscious leaders, we talked about unconscious leaders, and now we're talking about anti-conscious leaders. Techies. There are those leaders who actively work against the consciousness of themselves and those around them. They create conflict and discord, are often status and power hungry, and tend to want to build empires and actively play office politics. They work long hours and expect others to as well, and neglect their life and families. They create points of view that are very contractive to themselves, their family, and their organization. These are the anti-conscious leaders. They do not allow the free flow of information, performance, financials, strategy, etc., and have such fixed points of view that allow for no other possibilities. Their concrete mindset can also cause them to discern others as adversaries or to justify reprisal against them. They often struggle to alleviate their insecurity through excessive control and territorial behavior. The environment within their organization and at home is toxic. The anti-conscious leader creates unhealthy climates in the organization. The anti-conscious leader works very hard at creating their reality, so it is not ease, joy. Oh, excuse me. Oh. And when I'm yawning, basically what that means is there's a lot of unconsciousness coming off of all of us, the whole group. So it's awesome. The environment within their organization and home is toxic. The anti-conscious leader works very hard at creating their reality, so it is not ease or joy for themselves or those around them. The culture created by an anti-conscious leader is typically autocratic, uncaring, fear-driven, with attempts to control everything. There's a general underlying fear of invalidation and reprisals, and a distinct lack of sharing information. The culture is one of what is right or wrong, good or bad, and is typified by the you are either with me or against me point of view. Okay, so key points. Being conscious is the very process of expansion. It has nothing to do with New Age concepts or the latest fads or beliefs. Living in that reality means that we allow all of life to come to us with ease, joy, and glory. Consciousness is a choice, just as unconsciousness and anti-consciousness are choices. Leaders can choose to be conscious, unconscious, or anti-conscious. When leaders choose against consciousness, they are doing anti-consciousness. Chapter 3. Why would leaders choose to be conscious? Conscious leaders emanate an energy field of healing, nurturing, caring, joyfulness, fun, expansiveness, and an intensity of infiniteness. Man, you'd have to be one smart cookie to read this book, not having used any of the access tools before. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is awesome. This is some big concepts. If any of you have not done any access tools and are still listening at this point, I applaud you. Imagine that all of life comes to you with ease and joy and glory. Glory is an exuberant expression of life and abundance in all things. Imagine being able to make decisions effortlessly and being able to resolve problems and dissolve conflicts with ease. Imagine your life is permeated and saturated with insight and energy. This is the power of consciousness. Gary Douglas of Access Consciousness states, healing, caring, nurturing, creativity, joyfulness, fun, expansiveness, and intensity of infiniteness are the expressions of a perennial, pure, conscious essence. I'm going to repeat that because I've never heard him say that before. Healing, caring, nurturing, creativity, joyfulness, fun, expansiveness, and intensity of infiniteness are the expressions of a perennial, pure, conscious essence. Beautiful. This is the essence of who you truly are. When you are in the flow, where things are in harmony and in sync, you have transformed from a state of unconsciousness to consciousness. Your actions and purposes are matched, and the outcomes are dynamic, creative, efficient, and rewarding. Conscious leaders emanate an energy field of healing, nurturing, caring, joyfulness, fun, expansiveness, and an intensity of infiniteness. Consciousness is our intrinsic faculty and inner resource. However, the majority of people are so disconnected from their own states of consciousness that they are not aware that it is possible to actually experience this state. For most people, everyday living is a struggle. However, we all have an inner urge toward living more naturally, with ease, which is free of disharmony, trauma, and drama. Excuse me. Yet within us also resides a strong attachment to anti-conscious habits from our past programming. This attachment to anti-conscious habits causes us to be quite disconnected from our own infinite possibilities. We have been impacted with so many external thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, energies, limitations, and negativity that we are not able to perceive, know, be, and receive that we are that infinite possibility. We are not aware that it is possible to actually experience this state. Unconsciously, most people do not even realize that the state of pure consciousness is the true essence of their beingness. A downbeat self-depiction often obstructs the joyous, exuberant expression and abundance of life that is the true essence of their being. Pure consciousness. Ultimately, consciousness is a way of connecting what is happening at the present moment with the infinite possibilities. Conscious leaders constantly experience the abundance of life itself and the privilege of life itself, because they are able to perceive, know, be, and receive wherever they are, just by the power of energy. That is their true being. Anything is possible. And this is a most glorious and magnificent place to be. In consciousness, all of life happens with ease, joy, and glory. Why would you not choose consciousness? A conscious leader brings a sense of purpose to an organization. Conscious leaders set directions, whereas unconscious leaders look to others for direction. Where the conscious leader motivates, others achieve a shared target by example or the power of presence. The unconscious leader disperses duties and scrutinizes progress in their achievement. Where the conscious leader accepts authority to achieve a target, unconscious leaders allot authority and accept instruction in its application and use. Unconscious leaders keep an organization functioning, whereas conscious leaders focus on why the organization exists, where it is going, and what it would take to expand and enhance it. Conscious leaders have the ability to choose with awareness that which brings joy and expansiveness to them and others. Harmonic coherence. Conscious leaders have an energetic empowerment presence, which creates an energy field of healing, nurturing, caring, creativity, expansiveness, and joyfulness. This energy field is known as harmonic coherence frequency, which strongly affects others around the conscious leader. This is the source of the conscious leader's vibrational energy, commonly known as magnetism or charisma. This harmonic coherence frequency has been shown to have an almost telepathic effect on others and on the environment. The most common manifestations of this harmonic coherence are evidenced through comments such as, "How did you just know that I was going to do that?" Or, "I was just about to say that," or, "I knew that was going to happen." When we are in the zone, it's like we can read each other's minds. That's what it sounds like when you're having harmonic coherence. Recent scientific research, including chaos theory and quantum mechanics, has shown that everything and everyone in the universe, every thought and every attitude gives off a vibration, a frequency, and that they are all connected through energy. We are all broadcasting stations, radiating our energetic signals to the world. Each person has a particular frequency or vibration, a consciousness or energetic signal, which we radiate or transmit to the environment and other people. It is a composite of the particular frequency or vibration of our body, our mind, our heart, and our consciousness. Each being has the ability to control their own vibration. Just as you adjust your radio to a particular station by adjusting its frequency, you can attune to higher energetic vibrations by expanding your consciousness. Harmonic coherence and entrainment. This harmonic coherence also affects other people in a multitude of ways through a process known as entrainment. Entrainment can be defined as the tendency for two oscillating bodies to lock into phase so that they vibrate in harmony, harmonic coherence. The principle of entrainment is universal, appearing in music, biology, chemistry, pharmacology, medicine, psychology, sociology, astronomy, architecture, and many other disciplines. The history of entrainment is linked to findings of the Dutch scientist Christian Huygens in 1665. While working on the design of a pendulum clock, Huygens found that when he placed two of them on a wall near each other and swung the pendulums at different rates, they would eventually end up swinging at the same rate. This also occurred when a room was filled with grandfather clocks, all of different sizes, with different pendulum lengths, and each was set swinging. The clocks became synchronized with each other by sending and receiving minute vibrations through the walls and floor of the building. Not only was the energy being transferred, but the individual clocks then themselves altered their behavior in order to become synchronized with the other clocks. Equally noteworthy is the fact that the slower clocks picked up their pace to become synchronized with the fastest, highest frequency clocks. This entrainment process has been replicated over and over through the centuries and has given rise to many scientific and arts-related disciplines. Expansion and contraction. The fundamental function of each being is expanding and contracting their consciousness. Leaders always have the experiences and perceptions appropriate to their vibration level. When leaders are totally expanded, they have a perception of full awareness, of being in communion with all of life. However, when they are totally contracted, they become unconscious, energy dense, and resisting everyone and everything. Unconscious leaders feel anxious and apprehensive and are filled with worry and self-doubt. Okay, so unconscious leaders feel anxious and apprehensive and are filled with worry and self-doubt when they are highly contracted. Anti-conscious leaders choose this state and revel in it. They like it. They like to be contracted and angry. When leaders expand their intensity of consciousness, they expand their energetic empowerment and create a stirring of harmonic coherence throughout the organization. An elevated intensity of consciousness allows the leader to make an authentic communion with people. In the state of unconscious or anti-conscious, there is no communion, only separation. When leaders are unconscious or anti-conscious, they are living and functioning in a state of separation from the wholeness of life. It takes a great deal of energy to be functioning in the state of unconscious or anti-conscious. The misuse of energy is a toxic and harmful force in personal and work life. Key points of this chapter. Consciousness is a way of connecting what is happening at the present with the infinite possibilities. Expanding personal consciousness creates a harmonic coherence frequency, resulting in entrainment of people throughout the organization. Conscious leaders emanate an energy field of healing, nurturing, caring, joyfulness, fun, expansiveness, and an intensity of infiniteness. All right, are you guys still with me? Everybody still breathing? Everybody still here? All right. Doris. Okay, a thumbs up. That really helps. Thanks, Doris.
I have to say it's really intense because also the language, it's really intense. Like I don't understand the most of like
It's very
hard.
intense.
Yeah, I love it, and I get like to read. For me, as not having English as my first language, I almost need to look through a Google Translate and get some words.
Some of these words, yeah. Which ones?
There's a lot. Like they use
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah. It's let me see the last.
If there's really intense ones, just bring them up, because then we can go over them. Because even if, I mean, for those of you who don't know Doris, her first language is German. She's from Austria, and so, but it's like, even if you aren't getting them because of the language, there's probably a lot of people not getting them just because they're big words. So please bring them up, and I'll look them up, and we can discuss them, because it's a very intense read. I mean, this is not a book for dummies. And like, to read it in a second language, I can't even imagine that. It's intense enough in the first language.
And this is where I would like, I'm like, it's like to read this, with okay, if I want to bring this to the world, and at the same time I would jump around and like I don't have better words, but am I good enough? Could I bring this conversation somewhere if I like don't fully understand it with the words?
Right. Yeah.
I get this. I was like imagining, like in my world was like, oh my God, how can we all bring this to organizations? And I would require myself to have this conversation like in a clear way, like getting it.
Yeah, totally. Well, and the other thing that we can do is we might actually get through this book. I allotted 6 calls for this series, but if we finish the book, let's just start reading it again until our 6 calls are over, because I think that it is something that we need to look at way more than once.
Cool.
So yeah, and please, Doris, tell me the words that, like, especially like the most intense ones, and then let's like look them up and discuss them, because there's a lot of words here too that if English is your first language, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna know what that is. So cool. Teresa, you were gonna say something?
I was just gonna say that it's in English, but it sounds like it's in German to me. Like I'm.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is not for people who are choosing unconsciousness, anti-consciousness, and stupidity. This is, you gotta really want it, because it is an intense book. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let's start chapter 4, and Doris, just pop up what words come up as you read. Oh, there's Nicole. Hi, Nicole. See, Nicole hasn't been doing much access, and she's still here. So this is impressive. Awesome. All right. So conscious leaders. Oh wait, that's not that. So chapter 4 is conscious leaders live and operate from beingness. Okay. Conscious leaders embrace infinite possibilities and live from total perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. All right. Here we go. Page 30. We're on page 30, guys. The key point about consciousness is that you have consciousness, and you have a choice to be consciousness. You have to choose to be consciousness. It's not a place you go to. It's who you are. To be a conscious leader, you must choose to be a conscious leader. You must claim, own, and acknowledge it, and have it in you. That which you do not have in you, you cannot have at all. If you see consciousness, and where does that line come from, everybody? The How to Become Money Workbook. That which you do not have in you, you cannot have at all. If you see consciousness as external and not part of your beingness, you will never have it at all. It's your own withdrawal from awareness, your own mass condition that creates separation and contraction. Conscious leaders live and operate from beingness, from the extraordinariness and the limitless that they are, from the infinite possibilities that exist. They embrace infinite possibilities and live from total perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. And look, Stephen Chutisa even, where is it? They even made the words capital. They really meant it this time. When leaders live and function from total perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving, they become true allowance, void of judgment and fear. Perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. Conscious leaders perceive, know, be, and receive their greatness and claim and own their infiniteness. They relate to life in spontaneous interaction with the energy of the moment and have the ability to perceive, know, be, and receive everything. An awesome example of that is like a sense of humor. Oh my God. Anthony and I are watching this comedian on Netflix. Dane actually loves this comedian and recommended it to Anthony because this guy is super, super Italian. And Anthony is super, super Italian. And the comedian is actually helping me understand my super, super Italian husband. And, but it's amazing because like really, really great comedy is always it's the ability to ride the waves of the energy. It takes the same thing to be a good surfer or a good comedian. You have to be present in the moment and you have to ride exactly what's in front of you. And that's consciousness too, being present in the moment and riding exactly what's in front of you. So comedy is a good allegory for consciousness. Okay? I always think of that, you know, and laughter is what heals the earth, you know? So like watch comedians, watch things that make you laugh, watch things that make you, I mean, we were dying laughing. What's this guy's name? I should recommend it. Something Mascacola or something. I gotta find it. He is hysterically funny. And it's clean humor too. Like sometimes the humor is like just so like, oh, I can't even get into that because it's just dumb and disgusting. And this guy is it's like lovely, hilarious humor. His name's Sebastian Maniscalco.
I came to Venice.
Whoa, that got loud. Sebastian Maniscalco. Maniscalco. Oh gosh, he is just so funny. He sort of has OCD tendencies and he's like, why are people doing this? But it's the things that we see, it's just more exponentialized for him. So really funny. Okay, so, and if you like mad, disgusting, dirty, raunchy humor, that's cool too. Whatever makes you laugh, go for it. Conscious leaders, okay, so perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. They relate spontaneously in life. They have a spontaneous interaction with the energy of the moment. Okay? So, and that's why we can't plan our future or have projections about what our future is going to be or should be. That's why you want to learn to choose in 10-second increments. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, perceiving. Perceiving is about being aware of the energy of everything that is occurring. Conscious leaders have the ability to perceive all that is happening around them, including thoughts, biases, and feelings, without buying into that perception as reality. They are aware of what is happening around and within them and their organizations, and observe without judgment. They are willing to experience without form, structure, or significance, and they function from a space where everything is just an interesting point of view, rather than aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting. In total perceiving, the conscious leader can enjoy both the beauty and the beast without any judgment and is able to see it as just an interesting point of view. Cool. Practical perceiving. What are you, so these are questions to look at receiving. There's cute little boxes in the book where it's like a little gray box with little notes. So, what are you unwilling to perceive, or when have you decided that you can't have something? Then these have already defined you and have become the limitation of who you are. So if you decide you can't have something, then you have the limitation of who you are. Now, it's easy to tell somebody that. Well, if you have the idea that you can't have that, then, you can't have that. And it's like, okay, well, I do have the fucking idea. Now, how do I get out of the idea, you asshole? So finally some actual tools to do it. You cannot be totally expansive without the willingness to be or perceive everything. You are an infinite being, and everything is available and possible. Okay, so that was the chapter on perceiving. So we're going to talk about perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. So the first one is perceiving, and then we're going to go on to knowing. There's a page on knowing and a little box. There's a page on being and a little box. And I'm sure there'll be a page on receiving and a little box. Knowing. Knowing is the intelligent flow of insight and knowledge that transpires instantaneously once the mind and emotions are balanced, calm, and coherent. It's a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought. That's a good explanation of knowing. That's a really, really good sentence. Knowing is a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought. I love that. Knowing has nothing to do with the thinking mind. It is not a product of thought. So knowing and thinking, totally different. Not the same thing. Functioning from knowing is not implemented through hard labor, nor is it executed through force and exertion. It occurs by following the energy. Following the energy is about asking questions so that the universe and your inner knowing, your intuition, have an avenue for responding. Conscious leaders are empowered to know that they know, as they are able to connect with their inner knowing. They empower themselves with the awareness of the fact they know everything. They acknowledge that they know. Hold on. I don't know how you're doing this. I mean, Doris, you do have like pretty much perfect English, but still, everything would have to be translated in your head as you hear it. My God. Okay, I'm going to say that sentence again. So they empower themselves with the awareness of the fact that they know everything. They acknowledge that they know, and that every time they validate their knowing, they increase their knowing. So that's really important. Nicole's eyebrows. She's like, totally. This is intense. Okay, let's break it down here for a minute. Okay, so, oh gosh. If I can't even read the sentence, how's anybody supposed to even get the sentence? Okay, so they empower themselves. Okay, so this is a conscious leader. So a conscious person, conscious leader. Okay, so a conscious leader, they empower themselves with the awareness of the fact that they know everything. Okay, that's easy. Okay, if we actually just look at that sentence. So that's just like in the money workbook. We already know everything. But acknowledging that is super empowering, because then you can do anything. You just have to get the awareness. You have to ask the question to get the awareness. Okay, so we got that part. They empower themselves with the awareness of the fact that they know everything. Okay, got it. They acknowledge that they know. So that's just a repetition of what I just said. They acknowledge that they know. And every time they know, they validate their knowing. So that's important. That's a different point. So every time that they know something, they validate that. So that's actually acknowledging, wow, I do know this. I do get this. Because the whole world goes against you knowing what you know. And so when you go, oh, I knew that, and you acknowledge that, that strengthens your knowing. Okay? So you want to acknowledge what you know, and never ever get somebody else to acknowledge you knowing what you know, because nobody else can acknowledge you knowing what you know. You may find the more conscious leadership stuff you do, the less you can really talk to people or relate to people. And that's okay. They're not that valuable anyways. Okay, so conscious leaders choose to know instantaneously, to have an aware presence where intuition is embraced as powerful and insightful, and where they have moved from trying to be in the head to trusting their knowing. Conscious leaders never say, I don't know, but rather say, I don't have an answer for this at the moment. Or I don't have a point of view on this at the moment. Whenever they are required to know anything, all they have to do is follow the energy and ask to know. Okay, and that's great. So I'm going to repeat that sentence. Whenever they are required to know anything, all they have to do is follow the energy and ask to know. So if you don't know something, or you're not aware of the thing that you already know, you go, okay, so what do I know about this? You just ask, what do I know about this? And the little gray box, it's little gray box time. Practical knowing. Knowing has nothing to do with the thinking mind. It is not a product of thought. Okay, so it's just the little gray box is just saying thinking and knowing, totally different. The next point in the little gray box. When you are thinking and in your head, you are not functioning from your knowing. So if you're thinking, if you're in your head, you are not functioning from knowing. All right, and that brings us to an hour, folks. So next week on Conscious Leadership, when's our next class here? I think it's next week. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Yay, because I want to keep reading. I'm really into it. Okay, so tomorrow on Conscious Leadership, we will talk about being and receiving. I was correct. And we're on page 33. So we'll start page 33 tomorrow. All right, folks. Thanks for joining me. And
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is that Alex?
Yes, it's him.
Oh, hi, Alex.
Hi,
Awesome.
Julia.
Great. I can't see everybody. Nobody has their thing on. But
thank you so much for this reading.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So Chutisa will get the recording of this out if you guys want to re-listen or if you got on late or something. And we will continue tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye.